So this is section 3-1. There's a lot of vocabulary for this section. So I'm just going to go over each word here. There's no better way to do this. So parallel lines. This is our symbol for parallel lines. It looks like an 11. I usually do it with a slant, so you may see me write it like, let's see, oops, like that. Parallel lines, okay? And so parallel lines never intersect, and they are coplanar, so they're on the same plane. When I say planes, I mean like the face of this shape. So, for instance, the top is a face, the bottom's a face, the front, back, left side, right side. There's 6 faces to this. And so there's 6 planes on this object. So they have to be both coplanar, coplanar, and do not intersect. Okay, perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are, they intersect at 90 degrees, so they're usually formed with a right angle box, and you can see that right here on the right there, the right angle box. And this is our symbol for perpendicular. It's an upside down T. It's right here. And sometimes we see it with a right angle box in that upside down T. So those represent perpendicular. Skew lines. Skew lines is different than something you've probably heard of before. So skew lines are not coplanar, they are not parallel, and they do not intersect. So they basically have no relationship. An example of some skew lines says here AB and EG. So here's AB and EG. So notice EG is either on the front or the left side, and AB is either on the top or the back side. And so they're not coplanar, and they're not parallel, and they're not intersecting. So that's what makes them skew. They just have no relationship with each other. And parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. They'll never intersect. So they're kind of like opposite planes, like front and back. Right, let's see if I can clear this. Okay, so for the front and back, I'll highlight that. Maybe you can see it. Kind of. So there's your front, and you've got your back piece as well. Okay, those are our parallel planes. And remember that planes are either named with the script letter, like the fancy letter, which they don't have here, or we can name them with 3 letters. So plane ABE and plane CDG. Plane ABE is the top, and plane CDG is the bottom. So let's look at that. So they're talking about the top and the bottom. So up top, ABE would be this plane, and CDG, the bottom, would be this plane. And these are parallel to each other. They'll never intersect. Like that wasn't enough vocabulary, we have more vocabulary for you guys. So a couple things you need to know. First of all, a transversal is a line that intersects 2 coplanar lines at 2 different points. So it basically is a line that crosses through 2 or more lines. So here's your transversal. And notice it makes 8 angles. So at the first intersection, we have 4 angles that it creates. And then on the second intersection down below, the other point it hits, it has another 4 angles. So it makes 8 angles in this case. When the transversal intersects 2 lines, it's going to create 8 angles. Those 8 angles are in relationship, so to speak. So we have corresponding angles. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal, and they're on the same sides of line R and S. So to clarify, if you took those 4, the first 4 angles that I was talking about, and you stacked them onto this one would be in the same position as 5. So that's why it's 1 and 5. It's also 2 would be with 6, angle 3 would be with angle 7, and angle 4 would be with angle 8. So those are our pairs of corresponding angles. Okay, next, alternate interior angles. So the interior, notice, is all in red. So alternate interior means that they're on the alternate or opposite side of the transversal. So for instance, 3 and 6 are on opposite sides of the transversal, but they're still in the red. They're interior. So alternate interior angles are non-adjacent angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal between lines R and S. An example, angle 3 and 6. Okay, next is alternate exterior. Well, that's still the opposite sides of the transversal, but they'd be in the blue, the exterior. So an example would be 1 and 8. So alternate exterior is your next vocab word. And an example would be angles 1 and 8. And then we have same side interior. Same side interior are consecutive, they're also known as consecutive interior angles. You don't really need to know that. We usually call it same side interior. They're on the same side of the transversal between lines R and S. So they're interior, because it's same side interior, so they're in the red, but they're on the same side of the transversal. So for instance, 3 and 5, angle 3 and 5. And that's really it for section 3-1. So try the guided practice and make sure you have an understanding of the vocabulary.